This is the first recording of my learner who is in grade 4.
Pandora's Box. Long ago, in the faraway country of Greece, there lived a young man named Epictetus. He lived all alone, for his father and mother died while he was still a boy. His father's enemy thought of a plan. They sent Epictetus a very lovely woman named Pandora. Upon seeing Pandora, Epictetus at once fell in love with her. He took her as his wife. Pandora carried her sealed box. "What's inside the box?" Epictetus asked her. "That's my dowry," replied Pandora. Epictetus suspected that something dreadful was inside the box, for it was tightly sealed, so he warned Pandora never to open it. One day, Epictetus had to go somewhere on an errand. Pandora was left alone in the house. Soon she got tired of waiting for her husband. Her eyes fell on the sealed box. "Can there be jewels inside this box?" she said to herself. "A stranger gave this to me on my way to Epictetus. How saying it was a gift, he said, 'It's my dowry. Something beautiful must inside.'" Just then she heard a tiny voice coming from the box. It wanted to be set free. The voice kept on pleading. Pandora said yes, and she got hold of the lock to open. She remembered her husband's warning not to open the box. She dropped the lock and set the box aside. The pleading voice continued this time more palatably. Pandora held the lock again. She had a hard time opening the box. She raised the lid a little peep inside the box. All at once a swarm of strangers, insects, and ugly flying creatures flew out. They bit Pandora on the face, arms, legs, all over her body. Then they flew away. Pandora saw everything around her become dark. Then she didn't know what happened anymore. When her sense returned, Pandora felt her body itching all over from the insect bite. Her husband was already beside her, trying to comfort her. He treated his sores with juice from green leaf, which he picked from nearby tree. "You should not have opened that box," said Epictetus gently to her. Inside the box were all trouble in this world, all disease, all the misunderstanding, cares, heartaches that will face mankind from now on. "They were sent by my father's enemy," they heard the voice from the box again. "Please let me out, Pandora. I'm the cure for all the disease and troubles that had escaped from box. I am hope." All first Pandora and Epictetus were afraid to open the box again. Later they changed their mind and opened it very slowly. A lovely butterfly flew out with shiny golden wings. "I am Hope. I shall help you and mankind fight all the disease and trouble that had escaped from the box." And the butterfly flew out the window. Pandora's Box. Long ago, in the faraway country of Greece,
Greece was mispronounced as Grace.
There lived a young man named Epictetus.
The learner omitted the D sound in lived. Then the learner mispronounced Epimetheus as Epictetus.
He lived all alone.
The D sound was omitted in lived for the second time.
For his father and mother died while he was still a boy. His father's enemy thought of a plan.
The learner made the plural enemies singular, which is enemy. Plan was mispronounced as font.
They sent a Epimetheus.
The learner omitted 2. Epimetheus was mispronounced again as Epetichus for the second time.
A very lovely woman and named Pandora.
The learner inserted "and" in between woman and named. Name was said instead of named.
Upon seeing Pandora, Epetichus at once.
The learner said sing instead of seeing. For the third time, Epimetheus was mispronounced as Epetichus.
Fell in love with her. He took her as his wife. Pandora carried her sealed box.
The learner omitted with and a.
What's inside the box? Epetichus asked her.
Epimetheus was mispronounced again. For this fourth time, what I heard is Epetitus. The learner initially mispronounced asked as sus, but eventually pronounced it correctly in the second attempt.
That's my dowry, replied Pandora.
The learner read dowry instead of dowry, and then replied was substituted with implied.
Epetichus suspected that
Epimetheus, for the fifth time, was mispronounced again as Epetichus.
something dreadful was inside the box, for it was tightly sealed, so he warned Pandora never to open it.
Was inserted between never and to.
One day,
Epimetheus was mispronounced as Epetichus for the sixth time.
had to go somewhere on an errand.
The learner substituted somewhere with summer. Then an was omitted.
Pandora was left alone in the house.
The learner omitted the t sound in left.
Soon she got tired of waiting for her husband. Her eyes fell on the sealed box. Can there be jewels inside this box?
Jewels was mispronounced as juries, and box was substituted with buck.
She said to herself, a stranger gave this to me.
The learner made the singular stranger into plural.
On my way to Epimetheus' house,
For the seventh time, Epimetheus was mispronounced again, and I heard Epnichus.
saying it was a gift, he said, it's my dowry.
The learner read dowry instead of dowry.
Something beautiful must inside.
The learner omitted be.
Just then she
Heard was mispronounced as heard.
a tiny voice coming from the box. It wanted to be set free.
The learner made the past tense wanted to present tense.
The voice kept on blending.
Voice was substituted with boys. Kept was mispronounced as kif, and she also mispronounced pleading as plending.
Pandora said, yet
Took was mispronounced as se, and then pity was substituted with yet.
and she got hold of the lock to open. She remembered
The learner omitted the, box, and but.
her husband warning not to open the box.
The s sound was omitted in husbands.
She dropped the lock and set the box aside.
The first syllable of aside was mispronounced, and the word was read as a side.
The blending voice continued.
Pleading was mispronounced again as plending.
This time more plentifully.
Pitifully was read as platifully.
Pandora held the lock again.
Held was read as healed.
She had a hard time opening the box. She raised the lid a little peep.
The learner omitted 2.
Inside the box, all at once, a swarm of strangers insect.
Strange was substituted with strangers, and the sound was omitted in insects.
And ugly flying creatures flew out. They bit.
They was repeated. The learner initially pronounced bit as bet, but successfully corrected herself.
Pandora on the pace.
Face was mispronounced as paste.
Arms, legs, all over her body. Then they flew away. Pandora saw everything.
Was inserted between Pandora and saw. Then saw was substituted with so.
Around her became dark. Then she didn't know what happened anymore. When her sense returned,
the plural senses was made into singular.
Pandora's felt.
The learner read Pandora with the sound at the end.
Her body aching.
The learner mispronounced aching as atching.
All over from the insect bite.
Bites was read in its singular form, bite.
Her husband was already beside her, trying to comfort her. He treated his sores.
Her was substituted with his.
With juice from green leaf.
The learner repeated the first syllable of juice, then added the sound at the end of green, and omitted the sound in leaves,
which he picked from nearby tree. You should not have opened that box.
Should was mispronounced as sh,
said Epimetheus gently to her.
For the 8th time, Epimetheus was mispronounced again as Epimetheus.
Inside the box were all trouble in these words.
The plural troubles was made singular, and worlds was mispronounced as wards.
All disease.
The plural diseases was made singular.
All the misunderstanding.
The learner initially said Mr., then misunderstanding.
There's a heartache.
The learner omitted and. Then the first syllable of heartaches was repeated twice.
That will face mankind from now on. They were sent by my father's enemy.
The learner made the plural enemies singular, which is enemy.
They heard a voice from the box again. Please let me out, Pandora. I'm the cure for all the disease and troubles.
The plural diseases was made singular, and troubles was read as troubles.
That had escaped from box.
The learner omitted the.
I am hope.
The learner mispronounced hope as hof.
All first Pandora and Epimetheus.
At was substituted with all, and then for the 9th time, Epimetheus was mispronounced again as Epimetheus.
Were afraid to open the box again. Later, they changed their mind.
Minds was read as its singular form, mind,
and opened it very slowly. A lovely butterfly flew out with shiny golden wings. I am Hope.
The learner mispronounced hope as hof.
I shall help you.
Help was mispronounced as health.
And mankind fight.
O2 was inserted in between mankind and fight.
All the disease and trouble.
Diseases was read as its singular form, disease. Then troubles was read as treble.
The hat escaped from the box, and the butterfly flew out the window.
The learner omitted off.